Okay, Grandma, welcome back.
Thank you, Christian.
We went to the holidays and we had Thanksgiving and Christmas and just had New Year's. How you feeling? Good?
I'm feeling pretty fine. Thank
Yeah,
you.
me and Grandma were talking. We think this is number 11 or 12.
Yes, 11 or 12.
Probably should have checked, but she's got some things to show us before we start. Um, and these are little things that she stumbles upon and wants to add into the podcast later. And I said, that's more than fine because those are the things that I want on the podcast. So let me switch over here. Let's see. Okay.
Now, that reverts back to the years when I was a visiting nurse in Cincinnati, and I worked in the West End in the slum section, and I was well protected because they were grateful to have a nurse coming to their area, is what they told me.
Hmm.
But this is a picture of a man who I took care of, did not know that he was having this extra fantastic new procedure of a pacemaker put in.
Oh wow.
And the Cincinnati Enquirer, which is the newspaper of Cincinnati, is just the biggest deal known. So they did an article because it was such a rare procedure that they did.
Wow.
And he was so grateful to have one of the first pacemakers put in. And I didn't even know he had had that done because when I saw him, it was for a different condition. If I'm remembering right, it was a kidney problem.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of coincides with the fact he might require something like this. But the information in that article was so precious. The way he spoke and the way she spoke about how he used to cuss so much,
Oh
and
yeah.
now he's very grateful and has kind of become a Christian over it, it sounds like, and
Yeah.
changed his ways quite a lot.
I'll read a little bit here.
Okay.
One of his quotes is, "I had a temper, oh, a terrible temper." Mr. Hill said, "I'd go to the pool hall and I would be gambling, shooting, cutting like that. Oh, I've been into it a plenty." And he said, "But now I've given it up to God and going to do what He wants me to do. I'm willing to do His will. It was God's will that saved me, not man's will. If it had been man's will, I'd be gone long ago." That's nice. It's amazing to think about that. I mean, that's such a simple procedure today, like a pacemaker.
Yes.
Pacemaker, I maybe not simple, but it's just more commonplace now.
It's very
You
commonplace,
know,
yes.
it's amazing that this was just so rare back then. And what year is this? This is
It has to be like 1961 or 62.
man.
And found that article, and I thought, well, that's kind of special because I can't remember if I located it or someone knew about me taking care of him and saved it for me
Mm-hmm.
from the.
And
Um,
he was 90 at the time of this article.
oh, he was.
90. So
He
that means
was.
he was born in 1870.
Oh my. He was fortunate to be
Oh,
so, and almost wonder if that was almost like an experimental kind of process to do
right.
it, for somebody. But he was very grateful to be saved with that.
And then here's the second
The second
second thing.
one is a picture of the professor of music that was in the Bible college where Rod studied.
Yeah.
And I took private piano lessons from him after I graduated, and and we were just really best of friends. So
And this is Dr. Professor Barry.
E. Wayne Barry was his name. He was an absolutely fantastic
Wow.
musician. He played one composition of I I have to think of how you would term it, but an entire program using just his feet on this organ that had all the different pedals on it. He did a whole concert with that.
Wow.
So he was a very much sought after, well liked musician, and he thought Rod's voice was very special. He taught the choir also, and he chose Rod. And once you're picked for a certain place in the choir, like tenor.
Mm-hmm.
You were that for all the time you were in college. You had that position. You didn't lose it. He would work with you and help you and teach you, but
Wow.
he thought the world of Rod.
Hmm.
So that was a kind of an interesting thing. That's how I met Rod. I was taking piano lessons over there in that one psychology class I mentioned in a different podcast.
Right, right.
So that was Mr. E. Wayne Barry. He was from Juilliard College. That's an excellent
I think
school.
everybody knows what
Do
Juilliard is
they?
now.
Well, that's where he was
So,
from.
wow, okay. So he was,
So,
I didn't know that.
oh
So
yeah,
he was a
yeah,
professor at
yeah.
Juilliard.
Well, no, he's taught. I mean, not taught, but was trained at Juilliard.
Wow.
Graduate.
A
Yeah,
Juilliard graduate. And you took lessons from him.
yeah, yeah. Very.
Wow.
He was very kind to me.
Would you say that you learned the most from this guy? You,
From him,
yeah, from your in your piano.
a certain technique that he taught, and he was just very good, very patient. I had played for many years, so I don't know. He just kind of rounded things out in a certain category for
Yeah.
me. Yeah,
Yeah, sort of when I guess when you're sort of at a peak skill,
yeah,
it's just going to be little things
yeah.
that make a difference. So, okay, and then this picture, is this the third one?
That's the one I was going to show you. In
Okay.
the last podcast, we laughed about the fact that your Uncle Mike had been in this program at school and had taken a puppy from home.
There he is.
Now, that is not the people he sang with, but I think they came to our house afterwards, and these are some of his other friends from school and from church.
Oh, that's funny.
And that gives you an idea of what he looked like up there on that stage holding that puppy and
that's
doing
Toby?
that musical. And that's why he's got that. Yes, that's Toby, a scrounchy little puppy.
There he is.
And that's why Mike has that look on his face that it was kind of a special ordeal. He got in a little trouble over it, but boy, it was a highlight of the program.
Oh, that's so funny.
So I found that, and I thought that would be kind of okay to catch up with from
There
the
he is.
previous podcast.
He's
That
a
was
good boy, I can tell.
yeah. You can tell he was a sweet little
I
fellow.
can tell he's a good boy.
We liked him.
Very nice. Okay, so those are our catch-up items. Very interesting. From Juilliard. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess I can start with some questions. Let me see here. Okay. One second, sorry. Okay, so one of the questions I had for you, Grandma, was what were your first impressions of California when you moved here?
It was an absolutely different world from what I had grown up in.
Mm-hmm.
It was definitely foreign to me. And I know the people are even a bit different out here. People back home were like more able to associate with individuals, and people here are like you walk down the street, you just see strangers. But it was a different world, and all I could associate with was the idea is the place where the movies were made, and
Right.
people just have a different mindset out here. So you had to get to know people one-on-one to finally make a really good conclusion of what they were like. And they're still different personalities from what they are back there.
That's funny you say that because what people say is like New York, for example, they'll say they're mean. I can't remember exactly the areas, but they're mean to your face and they mean it. And then down south is like they are nice. They're nice to your face and they mean it that they're nice. Right?
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then California is something like it's kind of like a recent thing, but I think California is like they're nice to you and they mean it. But how did you see? Were people genuine when you came here, or was there? How different were people? I guess.
Actually, even in the church, you have to get to know how people really feel about you. And sometimes they will be reasonably just upfront and nice, and sometimes the fact that they stand away and or don't try to get close to you helps you to understand where you are with that individual.
I see.
So, but there were very many good people in the church when we came, and I had some pictures following that of some of the ones that we were the closest to, like got two or three different individuals. One was like Jack Hall. His picture comes up. One of the next ones.
Oh, okay.
Number 3 is going to be Regina standing in front of the church sign when she was about the early age here in school.
Let me see
Yeah,
here.
you'll see it there, right there. There it is. It's not easy to see, but it's in front of the church sign, and it shows her dad's name up there.
Oh, yeah.
And she had won like a certain rate in a contest of some kind, and she was just real pleased. And the next people,
She's a little sugar.
yeah, and she won a little prize. There was a man, that one right there, Jack Hall, where your thumb is, right there. He was a man who was very close to us, and we could trust him a lot. Jack and Evelyn.
Yeah.
He worked with the youth group and had many kids that just loved him. And he was very booming and excited, and he just loved the kids, and he loved teaching, and Evelyn helped him, his wife. And that's probably who Regina was in the class with and won the prize. He was the man who at one time had been very well to do, and something transpired that changed his whole existence. But he's also the man that his wife needed surgery later on, and Rod loaned him money, and they needed to be able to take care of paying it back, and he gave him a little piece of property, mining property that we still own.
Oh,
That's the one.
That's the wow.
He was a good man too.
Wow.
So I don't know what was this story behind it. Happened just before we got here, and he was a wonderful helper in the church, just absolutely wonderful.
Oh, that's nice.
And the lady with the gentleman in the next lower picture was Mildred Helmer and Ron. She was a Bible school teacher, and that's their 2 sons.
Okay.
And they were really fine people, and we were very close to all of them. So that was
Well, that's nice.
some of the examples of people that we really could trust. Because you only know what a person is like when you're with them quite a bit, and when they want to be with you, then you can tell what they're kind of really like. So, and that's one thing that ministers have to be mindful of, is to not have the image of playing favorites, because that harms the church if the other people feel left out.
Sure.
So that's what that is.
So under question 1 here, I sort of have little sub questions.
Okay.
Did you cover that in the first part that I asked you, or did you have more to say there?
The challenges of moving to Palmdale were that it was a different world. I didn't mind the weather or anything like that too much, but just getting to know people
Yeah.
and how to relate to them, and just keep on putting on a good image of caring for them, because you just didn't know where you stood with some folks. So that's true with anything.
It's hard to go to a new place.
Yes, it's very tricky.
I mean, it was jarring when I went an hour down to Northridge for
Yeah.
college.
Yes, it's a different world.
It was like a different world. Didn't know anybody.
Yeah.
It's
And people are almost afraid of each other down, in the city areas. So, and that was some of what I experienced. That's okay. That they were good people.
well, good. So here's what we'll do. We'll go through the questions, okay?
Okay.
And then, did you say you had numbers written on the pictures for the
Yes.
correlating to the questions?
Yes.
Okay, so let me see here. Okay, so we're done with this one.
There was Jack and Evelyn, and
Oh,
now
this
comes.
says number 6.
Okay, this is going to be Eve Edwards, and she was a converted Jewish lady who just thought the world of Rod and me, and we knew where she stood as far as that she was a genuine person. So she was from England, had a really great English accent, worked in real estate, very successful, I believe, and she had a very unusual thing happen at the end of her life, where she got the lung disease from having all the the soot and the dust from the thing that she was exposed to when her dad drove the bus over in England, and her brother got the same thing, and they
Wow.
both died. But he lived in San Francisco. This is kind of an aside, but it's kind of exciting, really. And when she visited him early on, he didn't even want to hear about Christianity. But then he got very, very sick, and he realized that it was something he wanted to pursue. And so she was the one who helped him to understand.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
So that was a dear friend. She lived way on top of the mountain on the edge of Palmdale.
Huh.
I could point to her house as we leave town sometime.
Wow. Let's do. You want to do a question?
Oh, sure.
Okay. So we'll do. Let's see. We'll go to number 3, okay?
Okay.
Can you describe the home you first lived in when you moved to Palmdale, and what was special about it?
It's very interesting. The very first one we lived in was, I have told before, it was a rental for like just a few months, and then it was made available for us to purchase that next house on 32nd Street, which was a real dream for us. It was small, and a funny thing about that house is it was painted bright turquoise blue. And so people realized that we really didn't care for the color. It just stood out like a very unusual, not pleasant thing. But the house itself was fine. It was just a small little tract house, but it was turquoise blue. And one year when we went on vacation back to Mom's, they surprised us and painted that house.
Wow.
It was a nice treat. That was very, very fine.
And
So,
the church did this?
yes, they did it
Oh.
as a kind of a special gift because they knew that it was something that was kind of a, a sore point to
Yeah.
think about. But it was just the nicest treat that they did that. So
that's nice.
interesting you would say that about. And it was about 2 blocks from the school, so it was easy for Regina to be able to go to school.
Very nice.
That was our first house.
I like that. Okay, let's see. What was it like being part of a church community that your husband was starting? Were there any memorable experiences or moments that stand out during the early days of the church?
Okay, now this church was one that had been running for a while, and they had I don't know what their total amount of folks that had attended there was, but it had some real difficulties. And I don't talk about things out of school, but some scandalous things that happened there. So really, we were coming in on something and kind of like in a healing process for them and a learning process for us. So that was rather an adventure and a challenge.
Yeah.
because that would be Rod's challenge to have to deal with some of the people in the church. So anyway, the point is, it kept growing, and Rod knew all the techniques to help teach people. The one thing that I'll insert right here is every year after we got married, for probably 15, 20, maybe more years, every vacation started out with us attending a convention. It was a convention that involved all of the church people that were the same kind of denomination. So it was a really good teaching thing because it did not conflict with any of the principles of what we believed in the church. So the first 3.5 days, night and day, wherever it was in the United States, and it was different locations, like it would be in Lexington one year, it'd be in Florida another year, and it would be like, it came to California fewer times than it did back there because that's the Bible Belt and the people could afford to drive and go to it back there.
Yeah.
So we went to that every year, and this is thousands of people. We're talking about as big a, I don't know what, any ball game that was any bigger. It was like 10, 12,000 people
Wow.
at a time. And we had some of the finest speakers. We had child care, training for every age of children. So it was absolutely wonderful. And they taught things that were pertinent to what ministers in their work area needed to have helped with. And you could choose from probably 10, 15 classes at any moment what you wanted to go and participate in. And so it was for the ministers' wives also. And then a big program in the evening with a great speaker and fine music and all that. So that was how we started out. And so Rod had all that extra help in understanding little techniques to know how to do different things and encourage people in the church or teach them how to do things. He had a thing called a calling program. He taught people from beginning to the end to know how to help a person learn how to become a Christian. And then after each one went out to their appointed place that evening, like they'd go in couples, and they were scheduled ahead of time, they would sometimes come back and have a baptism after it was over. That was just how he taught the people to work in the church. That was one thing. So one of the things I want to insert right there is a precious story about that calling program where Chuck Mueller was one of our people, and he had Rod's burial or his funeral. His wife, Karen, was in the calling program. This was a volunteer thing. She was so wanting to do the program, and it was something that she was just so anxious about that she literally lost her food. In other words, she literally upchucked.
Wow.
Because she was wanting to do things right, but she was still so determined that she wanted to do this and make a difference that she did that. And she was really a wonderful gal. And that just tells me how some people are just really aware that they want to do the Lord's work. But what happened was, and this is sad if family ever hears this, but after one of her children had gotten married, she was returning some rental equipment and got killed on the road.
Wow, really?
She was driving, yeah. But I don't know how that transpired as far as I just know it was a really awful, sad thing, a giant funeral.
Huh.
But she did that, and that was the calling program.
Wow.
And she was, so I feel so proud of her for,
Yeah, that's great.
continuing on is quite a testimony,
Yeah, it is. Wow.
So anyway, that's what we did as far as every year. Our vacation started out with that. We went to the convention, then we drove on to California, or we went to the convention and we went to Mom's. It was part of the trip included, yeah.
So Regina and Mike would come with you guys?
Yes, they were well taken care of in
Oh,
the
wow.
convention. Just totally, never seemed to mind it. It was just exciting, wonderful teachers, and I mean it was a giant affair.
Yeah, that's great.
It's
So
called.
how many times do you think you went to that?
I'm gonna say every year for at least. I'm confident it was 20 years at
Wow.
least. After we were married, even, yeah. If I could backtrack and calculate it one time if I think about,
That's great.
but we did. And it was a highlight of the year, really.
Yeah.
But it was an educational thing, and he saw his friends. Do you know how many people he knew?
A lot.
He knew so many people, and we would go into the exhibition hall, which was as big as a gymnasium.
Yeah.
And all these people would be in there with their displays. Some of them were missionaries who came home for the convention from afar.
Yeah.
And they would have their place. And we could hardly get through that exhibition hall because he knew so many people.
Oh,
It was
man.
just tremendous. There's another picture in there of him and us meeting different people like the one that was a singer. I'll tell you in a minute who it was. But there's a picture of him. And as a matter of fact, he died, his friend. And his wife had remarried, and it was this morning that her second husband died.
This morning.
It came on my Facebook thing.
Oh, man.
It's a coincidence.
Wow.
But anyway, that was part of his work, and we just really enjoyed going to that convention.
That's great. Conventions like that are cool. I had in college when I was doing like recreation stuff, they'd send us on these retreats or whatever, and it was sort of the same thing. It was a big convention,
Uh-huh.
and you would go to classes all day.
Yeah.
And you got to sort of pick what you wanted, what was interesting to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that stuff is great.
Yeah. It was very good.
Let me see here. 1 second. Okay. Did you want to go through photos right now, or?
One of the next photos is another one of the people that we were pretty close to. Her name was Pat McCullough, and it's just a picture of her and me standing next to the organ because I played the organ after a while.
Okay. Sorry, trying to get this.
George Melton was the name of the
singer?
person I was going to tell, yes. And his wife had remarried, and she was saying what a wonderful husband her second husband was, too. But just to this morning, she announced that he had passed away.
Okay.
He had leukemia, I guess.
We're going to pause for a second here. Okay, and we're back. I got the camera working again. So Grandma's going to be in charge of reading the questions. So Grandma, why don't you go ahead and read the next one? I think it's number 5.
Okay. During this time of the early church, what did a typical day look like for me? And did I establish any new routines or habits in my new home? I tell you, it wasn't terribly unusual, but I was a busy cookie all the time, either doing laundry or we had so many different commitments to go to. You know, the every Wednesday evening and then choir afterwards, and then having the children be able to keep rested and well and make it to school the next day. That was just a busy routine. And then on Sunday, it was absolutely a full day. We got dressed and went to church and were there for hours. And then we went back in the evening time. Same thing. Rod preached twice a day on that day.
Yeah.
There is one funny little story. There was a man and woman who just thought the world of Rod. They were good friends with me, too. Mamie Yates and her husband, who had a group of apartments that they rented out, and they lived in one of them, but they just loved Rod. In fact, he bought Rod a whole new suit outfit one night. He wanted him to look fancy like some of those people on programs he had seen.
Yeah.
And it was a flashy kind of a jacket for Rod to have, you know, as far as that. But they just loved Rod. And one day after church, they wanted to take us to Knott's Berry Farm for lunch.
Oh.
And then get back in time for evening church to preach.
Oh, man.
And we did. And that was an unusual thing, but some people just really were very close to Rod and just really appreciated him a lot. And there are some pictures coming up of a gentleman who knew that Rod liked to look at the old country where his dad lived out near Cantil.
Oh, yeah.
And the history of his dad having a place that he owned out there.
Right.
And sold it very quickly and went back east again. That's when he met Rod's mom.
Yeah.
But it was in the area of Cantil, and there's a picture of a man who had a dune buggy, and he took Rod and me out there to Cantil to see the place where Rod's folks had lived.
Wow, really?
So yeah, and that
Was there like a house there? Or?
no house that we saw, but the sign is there with the picture. You can tell it's Cantil. And there is a picture. I should have brought it in out of the office. There was a post office there that burned within 2 weeks after we saw it. And it was an original post office that had been there since probably 40, 50 years. It was really
Wow.
very unusual. So I didn't bring that picture in, but that was a little piece of history too.
Yeah, I've driven by Cantil a few times, and it is.
Have you?
It is pretty desolate.
It's desolate out there where some of those mining things and the properties and all that are.
Yeah.
But that was interesting that we saw it in the paper that it had burned.
Wow.
Because, like as I said before, Rod read the paper every day.
Right.
And he was very interested, or Mike told you about him reading the paper, but it was such an unusual thing for that to happen.
Huh.
It was within 2 weeks
Man.
that it happened, that it burned.
Wow.
So my typical day was just always focusing on being ready to go for the next program or the, kind of preparation that you have to do to be gone for.
Yeah.
But taking care of 2 little kids going to school too.
Was that a big jump going from, I guess, not doing that at all to all of a sudden like being a part of this busy program church thing?
I was that busy back there also.
Yeah, okay, got it.
In fact, would you believe that after Regina was born, she was like 6 months old. We even went to the midnight freezing service
Midnight.
at New Year's, yes.
Oh, okay.
At North 7th Street Church in Hamilton. We went and participated because it was just part of what you thought you had to do.
Just
So
what you did.
yeah, and but we kept her good and warm.
Okay.
Don't worry, we kept her good and warm.
Good.
But we did. That was just kind of like what life was like, and I didn't excuse myself from anything, so
Did you ever
it
get
worked out.
burned out on being that busy?
Um, you just roll with it and don't realize it's happening. You think it's part of your life. And I was not working at the time. I was so grateful that I got to be mom to the kids and do my own kind of training or caring for them rather than, popping them in the car and them being maybe still sleepy or tired and you don't know what goes on when you're not there. So
Right.
I was so grateful that Rod allowed me, and I also went along with the idea that that was more important than things. So I don't know. I told that story about the church back in Fairfield. I don't know if they expected me to work because they knew I was a nurse, or why that was they had such a tight string on the finances, unless they just wanted that nice new building and just didn't realize what they were doing
Yeah.
to us. So anyway, I just adapted and rolled with it because I just thought that was part of life, and I had seen a lot of hard life before me, with other people who just worked and did what they needed to do
Yeah.
and survived. And so that was part of my life. It was just I didn't stress over it. I wasn't frumpy over it. It just I knew my limits of what I could get, and it was quite a treat to be able to get things. Period.
Yeah.
That's how I learned to sew so much.
Mm.
I could take a piece of fabric and make something and make it look as good as I could without having to pay that big price in the store for a little dress,
Yeah.
or whatever. And almost any clothing that you see on my children in the next few years, the little picture of Mike and Regina almost brought it back to show again, where he was on the back of the tricycle and she was sitting on the seat and holding her arm around his neck.
Yeah.
I made all that stuff that they had on that day. He had a little striped jacket, plaid jacket, and short pants, and he was probably a year and a half
You
old.
made all that?
I made everything. Yeah.
Wow.
And her little dress, and
You probably saved the family a lot of money.
well, it was a very big savings.
Yeah.
And you say, what was one of my things that I enjoyed as far as craft? Was we'd go to the store, and I didn't want to look homespun, so I would go to the Vogue pattern book and pick out the nicest thing that I could think of that didn't require an awful lot of fabric, and I'd make my dresses all Vogue patterns. That's what I used.
Wow.
And I made children's clothing, like children's that was available. That's all.
Yeah.
They weren't that fancy, but anyway, that was it.
Did you guys, did you and Rod ever work out in your younger years? Like go for runs or go to, I don't know. Did you guys have gyms back then? I don't even know how it worked.
Um,
Or were you kind of just busy with life?
we were pretty busy. There is one story about Rod that is kind of happy, sad. He was trying to take care of himself, and we were in Fairfield at the time, and he was out, it was either jogging or just walking, and someone stopped and says, "Do you need a ride?" And he was sort of hurt that somebody didn't even understand he was trying to physically take care of himself.
Yeah.
That he stopped doing it. It almost made him feel offended, I guess.
Man.
But there was a time when I think he wanted to go do things like that, and I tell you one thing, he tried so hard to do right things that we had several magazines that I had to cancel after he was gone. that were health kind of things. And he would listen to Dr. Stephen Gundry, not on YouTube, because we didn't have that access, but somehow he learned that this was a really smart doctor. And I have pills in there still, like supplement pills,
Wow.
that he tried his best to take care of himself. And we did walk when we were here, and the doctor told us to do that. We did walk. And he started to have chest pain, and he was afraid that was going to be a worse problem. And so he didn't realize that continuing on might have strengthened some of the heart muscle. But yes, he did try to take care of himself.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, he did.
Well, we'll do one more. We'll do all the questions, but
Oh, okay.
one more question, then we'll move to the photos. Okay.
Okay.
Sound good?
What were your personal goals or dreams during this period? And did your outlook on life change after moving out here? My outlook was just always to do the best I could. I never was a great teacher, but I did help teach when we started the church after First Christian. And it was young kids, and there's still little happy memories for me. But I just didn't. I was very away from little children when I was growing up, that I don't know why I thought they would not identify with me. And when you have your own, it's just a natural thing. They just are natural to love mom and dad, you know.
Yeah.
But I didn't understand some, and I had been taught so much about you sit and you be quiet, or you do, and it was a learning process to know how to deal with little children and in a public situation and not hurt them, you know, emotionally.
Yeah.
Or you don't just say to someone, you be quiet over there. You have to do it in a certain artsy way. And I didn't have that skill. So there's a gal that is a good friend of mine named Sue Malachowski, who is excellent at knowing how to deal with little children. And if I had had a class from her, I would have probably felt very comfortable doing that. But anyway, my goals were just to be supportive. And I was busy with music for sure, because I played the piano or the organ.
Yeah.
Had to learn the technique for that. I think Mr. Berry is the one that taught me how you always make sure the melody note is the strongest, and everything else is kind of an accompanying kind of thing. But the keyboards and the new things, you know, are just such a big challenge to learn a whole different system of playing. That's what some of my goals were, just to keep up. And
Yeah.
it was an every week thing to have choir practice and be prepared for that.
How many times a week would you guys meet for like choir?
Just the one, and then they have a little quick rehearsal before you go in, and it wasn't anything fancy with the piano or anything. There wasn't a place to do that without being in front of all the people. But we did that, you know, and I was just supportive, I guess is what you would say.
Yeah. That's good. I like that. Well, let's jump into some of these photos you got. Let me switch the camera. Give me a second. Okay, so I think I don't. Oh no, we did talk about this.
Yeah, that was Eve Edwards, and it was a lung disease that she died of.
Okay.
And that is another one of the folks that we were very close to, Pat McCullough. And she lived down the street from us when we moved from. She used to direct the children's music, and she was very active and very busy helping with the church work.
Yeah.
So
Very nice.
She was a good,
The
trustworthy
McCullough
friend.
family.
Yes, the McCulloughs.
We know them well. Their
Yes.
kids went to school with me, and
Yes.
Regina went to school with her kids, right?
Yes, that's right.
That's the mother.
Absolutely correct. They were
A
wonderful
long line of
folks.
McCulloughs, yes.
And that happens to be a picture, and it's attached for a reason. That's shows the church. That was the church building. And then you scan over, and on the other side is a side building that was a house that was part of our structure to work with for the training and the educational classes.
Ah,
So it was a good size little congregation.
wow.
Yeah, and it grew, and that was all part of it. And it's still over there. You can drive past it someday on 15th Street.
15th Street, very nice.
Now, this was the thing that I told you about the people that really cared about Rod and took him out to Kent Hill.
Oh, yeah, okay.
That was the man who owned the dune buggy and just really good to Rod. And so he made a day of it, and we all went out to Kent Hill and saw the land that had been the area where Rod's dad had lived.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and he took his little buggy and took Rod a ride.
Well, that's an interesting little dune buggy he's got there.
Yeah, he was a nice man. I wish I could recall his name, but I could look in one of the church directories and find it probably. Very
Nice.
good to us.
It's a good man.
Now this is interesting. When we first came, you wanted to know this story about the changeover from Fairfield to here. There was a thing called a ministerial group, and it was the most interesting thing, very logical for the men involved, but they were ministers from all areas of the whole Palmdale area, like Lutheran, Presbyterian, Baptist.
Oh, wow.
Rod was the best friends with every one of them.
Huh.
And the man over on the far right of Rod, it's my picture, it's on the left.
This guy?
But no, the other one.
This guy.
Yeah, that one. He was taking the place of a man who's not shown there, named Brother Philip. Brother Philip was a priest who was just all around town, and Rod just loved him. But this is a highlight of one of my things. The guy on the left-hand side of Rod, I think his name was Clyde Irvin. And all those people are gone now, so I can share this. He liked Rod so much, he had him come and preach at his church while he was off, and Rod had to excuse himself from our church. I can't remember how he got somebody to do the preaching, but he went over there and preached for him. But the sad thing was, two of the families came over and joined our church.
Oh, really? They
Yeah.
liked Grandpa so much?
They what?
They liked Grandpa that
Yeah,
much?
they did from that one sermon. But anyway, the man who's taking the place of Brother Philip on the far other side, that one,
Yeah.
Brother Philip was an icon at the Priory. And he was like the touch base person who would represent the Priory and come down to the town. And we had festivals in town that were just really fun to go to. But they also had a festival at the Priory. And this is one of the highlights of the year for me, that we got invited up to that Priory for a special event, like it was a nice meal and then a little program afterwards. And I tell you, we looked forward to that every single year. And it was not as if you were, going against your faith or anything. It was just a gathering, and the ministers and their wives were all invited. It was a rare thing. I don't think they do that anymore.
Oh, really?
So it
was just the ministers and their wives?
Yeah, just the ministers
wow.
and their wives. And the thing that comes next, Christian, is those plaques over there.
Okay.
They're As I said, there were many festivals around the area. And there was one priest up at the priory who had this special ability to make these clay little scenes, pictures, what do you call them?
Yeah, I've always seen these around. I've never really known what they were.
I want you to know those are all the way up to San Francisco.
Huh.
Because on one of our trips up there, there was a little display on the street, and it was these things, and you turn them over, and the name of the priest was on there. And he's from the priory out here.
Where is the priory?
It's up in, I think it's called Juniper Hills,
Okay.
but it's on the way as you go toward Rialto and San Bernardino, and you just jog off to the right, and it's up in there. But
Is it
was
a small thing, or like, I don't even know what that is. Do they have service there every Sunday, or how does
Oh,
it
I'm
work?
sure they do. They have
Okay.
probably services every single evening because there's a bell that rings,
Okay.
when it's time for a certain event to happen or
Interesting.
prayer time or whatever.
So his name's on the back of this?
I don't know if his name is on this one, but they were up there at the, is it? Yep.
What was his name? Do you remember?
And he's probably gone by now because that was many years ago. But those are all the way up to San Francisco. They're so well liked. So I had him in the office, and I said, "Oh, that's a little piece of interest to the podcast, maybe."
Yeah. We got one more here.
Yeah. And they're just kind of sweet, aren't they?
Yeah.
And they're clay, and they're you can tell it's a Catholic sort of image, with the little clothing that they've got on and all that. But it's just special.
So he gave them to you guys?
I'm sure I might have bought them at one of the festivals.
Oh, that's
because they were I like things like that. So that was part of the history of the.
Well, that's very nice. I like those.
But the Ministerial Association went on for many years. And just the Palmdale, they were just all really good friends. And Rod was made president one year, I guess.
Wow.
Yeah. So I found that in my archives.
Very cool.
And that was a typical picture. We were out on a little desert trip, and you can see this out there it's a deserty background. It's not a great picture, but it shows Regina and Mike at the aged time that you're wanting in this review here.
Oh, I see, yeah.
Yeah.
Very nice.
And I wish I had one with Rod in it, but he took the picture, and I guess I didn't have brains enough to turn around and say, "Now you get in the picture."
Oh.
I usually learn
They're
to do
cute.
that. Yeah.
You had some cute kids.
Yes, sir. Now that you asked me when we went back to visit at Fairfield, did we get to see many friends? And there was always this group that would go to lunch with us,
Nice.
And sometimes Rod would be asked to preach if they knew when he was coming, because they knew the convention was happening too.
Right.
And he would be gracious enough to preach that day, but we'd be at Mom's house, and it was probably 75 miles to drive to get to the church, and
Wow.
then that was a big day. So Mom's in the picture there.
Oh, yeah, where's
She's
she?
the one in the blue dress, the dark
yeah.
turquoise blue.
Here she
Yeah,
is,
there
yeah.
she is.
Yeah.
And one's got a picture with Rod in it, and then we turned around, there's a picture with me in it. So you can say, but that's typical. They would always want to go. We just had dear friends who remained so. The one next to my mom with the stripe down the front, it's on my mother's right.
Yeah.
That's Eva Hetrick. She was absolutely a dear friend.
Well, your mom doesn't look too happy to have her picture taken.
No, and you know what? It was always a happy, sad thing that we were all there because she knew that we were there now, but we'd be gone soon, and I realized that.
Oh.
Sad. Was that the end of those?
You got.
Oh, and that's a typical picture of my mom and my brother and Rod. And that's out the side of her little fence next to the summer house.
That's a good one.
Yeah, that's a good picture, huh? And the next one was a picture of Mike and Regina. You asked for things that were going on
Oh,
in
yeah.
our new little house on 32nd Street in California.
Cool. You got a bike?
Yeah, and I don't know who's it for because I didn't even ride a bike. So, and that's too big for either one of the kids. So I don't understand that. I don't remember Rod riding it too much.
Do you know how to ride a bike?
Barely, no.
Oh.
I did not have a bike all the time I was home.
Wow.
And one year after I was able to afford such a thing, I got a bike, and I think it had flat tires. It was up on the farm, and I never did learn to ride. Never did.
That's okay.
And
It's
I didn't want to
overrated.
break any bones either.
Same.
So the next picture is the fact that when we were out here, this is still at 32nd Street.
Okay.
Rod and his dad and me in front of the little house that we owned there. And I'm sure his mom had passed away because she didn't live very long after they moved up here. But Rod's dad would be in church every single Sunday, dressed to the nines. He was so happy to be there and he loved it. And that was typical.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
And
looks like he's got his little Frank Sinatra hat on and
yeah,
he's ready to go to church, huh?
he was really a gem. I have such good memories of him.
Here's another good one.
Well, that was a picture in front of the church at First Christian. That's why I put that one in there. You wanted memories of those years,
Yeah,
and that's what that was.
I love it.
Yeah.
Wow. How old were you guys here?
I was probably 29, something like that,
Nice.
because of the number of years that I know that it was that we were at the other church. 23 and 6 is 29. I would have been 29 or 30.
So you were 29?
Uh-huh.
Man, Grandpa looks old already.
Well,
So he was what, 30?
9 and 5.5. 34 and a half.
So he was 34. Man,
Mm-hmm.
he's got gray hair at 34.
I think the light's shining on it there. I can't remember that he was that gray at the time.
Oh, you might be right. It is brown. You're right.
Yeah, it's probably the lighting. I'm thinking.
Wow. Grandpa looked the same for a long time.
Yeah, he did.
He
He grew a mustache for a few years, and then he took it off. So that was all good.
Very nice.
And this next one is a kind of a special one for you to see.
Oh, yeah.
That is your dad getting
my dad.
baptized. Now, Regina worked at Sambo's a long time. But this is taken after the baptism because you can see your dad has the same shirt on. Anyway,
okay.
there's another picture of him being baptized before the white gown is on him. And it was the same evening. But he would come to church even when Regina was working. So I thought that was very special.
Very nice.
And then afterwards, there was a staged picture of the three of them together.
Wow.
And that was a good evening.
And fun fact, Grandpa did my baptism as well at
Yeah,
Central Christian.
that's good.
Yeah, that was a good day.
And this is a typical picture. That's Mom's back door, and that's my brother, Uncle Punky, and Rod, and they were just always able to enjoy each other and good sociable friends. So
They look like two peas in a pod.
yeah, they were. They all and Rod never talked about people in any wrong way when he wasn't with them. He just enjoyed my brother. He just liked him.
That's great.
And my brother, I hope, enjoyed him too. We didn't get to see each other that often, after you move like that.
Right.
So that's what that was, that picture. And that is my brother's children, Leanne and Priscilla and Phil. There was one other young man, Joey. He must not have been born yet. But there's Mike and Regina, and we were outside their house. They lived not too far in Cincinnati. We always enjoyed visiting with them.
That's nice. Interesting. So that's Phil. I reached out to Phil about the family Bible a couple, like last year,
Oh,
So it's funny to see him as a kid.
if he could take a picture of it. It was absolutely a carved front. It was so unusual. But it was the idea that I wanted my brother to have it if he wished to have it, so he inherited that.
Just the top one?
Both of them.
You want to do both?
I'll tell both. These are both things that happened at First Christian. This one is the fact that they flew my mother out for a special surprise for an event. We had a big mother and daughter banquet kind of thing. And Carla's mother, I think, was the one who helped to organize and make that happen. And you can see Mike's age. This is early on.
Yeah.
But the thing is, you see that material in those dresses?
I see it.
I told you I made everything,
Yeah.
but I didn't make my mother's. This is the funny part. You asked me what my interests were and my hobbies
Yeah.
was one of the questions when I moved here. And I told you that I like to make the dresses. Well, I made Regina's and my dress out of fabric that came from a store that was famous in Lancaster called Kleiner's.
Oh.
But let me tell you, there were probably 300 bolts of fabric in that store.
Whoa.
So this is the interesting part. They found out what the fabric was. I do not know how they did this, if Rod gave them a piece of the material and they went over and bought it, or how they worked this out. But they made that skirt for my mother so it would match us when she came out from the little surprise room she was in at the program. So the first thing I said, out of 300 some bolts of fabric, how does someone pick the same fabric? And I looked up and it was my mother.
Oh. Wait, so that was by coincidence, or?
Oh, they did it on purpose.
It was on purpose.
They found out what fabric I was making our dresses out of. And
Oh,
those were
that's
like
funny.
from a Hawaiian pattern
Oh, I see.
of Regina's and mine.
Very
But we had
nice.
big events. We had
And you did want to go over this one?
yeah, I'll show that one. I'll
Okay.
tell you why that is.
Okay.
Because later, when Rod's dad got very, very ill, we had him at our house, and he was in Mike's room. It was fine with Mike. Mike didn't think a thing about it. It was fine. He just slept on the sofa in the living room.
Oh, okay.
But we took care of Rod's dad.
Yeah.
And it was just the idea that there aren't that many pictures, and
Sure.
that was kind of special. But I got to tell you a funny story about it. The year that Mike was in like second or third grade, the teacher was going to be having the school summer off, of course, and she had asked for someone to volunteer to take home some of the pets that were in the room.
Oh.
They had some rats that were probably the body without counting the tail. I mean, they were big. And so I don't know how I found out about this, but somehow I knew to go over to the school. Mike must have finally told me, but he didn't tell me until it was time to go pick him up. And so I went into the room, and the teacher, she was so sweet. She said, Mike didn't tell you about it? And so I just thought, well, we'll just take him home and feed him, you know.
Yeah.
So we took the rats home. Well, the rats were in their cages, but one of them was pretty smart. They knew how to get out of the cage.
Oh.
And this is the part that is comical. One night, Rod's dad was asleep in the bed, and the rat crawled across his face. And he called out for Rod and said, Rod, will you come here, please? Because he was a really an old-timer, go-getter kind of person. He says he was about to take it by the tail and just toss it down. It would have hard, you know, to get rid of it and kill it.
Yeah.
And so Rod went in, and those rats were absolutely precious too. We just kind of enjoyed them, and they climbed around across the floor, you know, when we would let them out and watch them. But he says, I was just in a second ready to toss that thing down and get rid of it.
Oh, man.
But we went in time, and we got the thing, and so we started to wire the cage shut, I think.
Oh, man.
But the rat knew how to get out. But he crawled across Grandpa's face.
Oh, my goodness.
And so that was the story, and that's why, because he was sleeping in Mike's room, and they were kept in an open door closet in the area, and he was able to get in there.
Oh, wow.
So that was pretty comical for future event. But the rats made it, and we took them back to school when time was there.
Wow.
Is that funny?
That is funny.
So,
Right, what do we got for the next question?
okay. What were my personal goals? What were some hobbies or activities that I enjoyed in my free time during these years? Well, one of the things that we enjoyed so much was just as a family getting into the car and being able to, if it was like a day off, we would go to little things like festivals, or we'd go down to the mall. We went to Tarzana all the time.
Oh.
And would walk around the mall and eat a little bite and then come home. That was it, because we had Mondays off. And you have to be back to get your children ready for bed if they go to school the next day.
Mm-hmm.
But as I told you, the one thing that was a hobby that turned out to be a beneficial thing was the sewing that I did. So I went to the decliners, and I would look at the patterns and be ready for the next season that was coming up. You know, like I knew I was going to have to make a dress or something for whatever. So almost any clothing that you see pictures with the children at those early ages. And one thing I'll have to tell you, the hobby. I did not make Regina's wedding gown. I did Carla's, and I'm not promoting. I can't do this kind of thing anymore. But I did make Aunt Carla's.
Yeah.
And Regina is absolutely a fashion queen, and I thought I was not going to need to do any sewing for her gown. But I want you to know, as fine as her dress was, we went to Los Angeles, and she picked out lace, and her dress was kind of a form-fit thing in the front, and I did need to put lace all down the front, all around the bodice of her dress, all the way to the floor. So I did get to do something on her wedding gown, but it was not the big challenge of having to make the whole thing.
Yeah.
So that was a kind of a fun little thing to recall. So I still was part of her gown too, to put that lace on the as an outer, and that was just what she wanted.
Oh, that's
And
nice.
the other thing too, there was a dress that I think she picked out for the prom or whatever, and I made all those.
Wow.
And the one that we wished that we could have purchased that would have been ready made was one that we saw in a nice dress store in Palmdale. Some dress stores have come and gone, they're not even here anymore.
Yeah.
But we found it, and it was like $115.
Wow.
And we just
It's big
couldn't,
money back then, right?
that was a lot.
Yeah.
And we could not really manage to do that, but we did the next best thing, and she rolled right along with, because she designed it, the one that we made for her prom thing, and she was pretty happy with it. So the funny part is, there were two girls at the prom with the same dress on, and that was the one.
Oh, really?
I kid you not.
Oh,
That was a funny little coincidence. But anyway,
that's
that was
funny.
my craft, was to sew and do that kind of thing.
That's great.
So
That's something that's just not common anymore.
no,
It's very uncommon.
yeah,
That's an awesome hobby, though.
yeah.
That's great.
So anyway, that was the story about my hobby.
I like it.
Let's see. What role did your faith play in your life during this period? Well, I had an example of my mom and dad just kind of like putting one foot right in front of the other. So I didn't go along with any dread or frustration. I just was fortunate to hear the message of the gospel every single week. I listened to Wednesday night's teaching of rods, and of course a Sunday night again for all those years. 57, no, we were married 57 years, but in 2007 is when he retired. So it was just kind of like a good message every so many days. But I'll tell you one thing. Since he has been gone, I think of the closeness to my faith in a different way, because I don't have him, and it was just a matter of fact. You just kind of, it's real, it's true, and all that. But to make myself more mindful is a very interesting thing that has made me deeper still in my understanding, because it's just a strange thing to grow up and be with that every so many days and hear it, and you're encouraged, but to really think about God and your closeness to him and why you need to be mindful of him is a different thing when your spouse is gone. It becomes very different and very real. So it puts you at a different depth of your own recognition of it. It really is.
Wow.
So that was my faith. I mean, it was just so automatic to be able to be encouraged with all those, but still, it's a little different still now.
Yeah.
And it all added to it and made it work.
Well, good.
Yeah. Family relationships. How did your relationship with your husband evolve as you both settled into your new roles? We always got along. I just can't say enough about being so thankful for all the understanding that he had, and for him not to be a driver or irritated with me or whatever. He was always just absolutely. I look back on it and I hear stories about people, and I think, my goodness, I was so in a good place that I'm just grateful. But we got along. And I didn't, because I'd been in the country and because I wasn't working, I was just very, very grateful to be where I was.
Yeah, that's good.
Did we maintain connections with friends and family from where we lived before? And that was the story that we showed about the people. Yes, we did.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Went back and had lunch with them, and
Yeah, always.
that's great.
And we'd get phone calls from people from time to time, always too. And always the Christmas cards and stuff.
Oh, that's nice.
The biggest adjustments in becoming a parent, coming out here, well, it was just like a day-to-day growing into what was needed, is all you can say. It was, it had already been a way of life back there, but just to keep doing it. And one thing I did not do a lot of, and I hope they weren't offended, but sometimes they would have like an extra women's Bible study. And I'll have to tell you the truth, one of the most discouraging things for me is to hear in a small group setting how some people actually think. And it can be very, very small and discouraging. And I wasn't the teacher, so it was the idea that I just didn't enjoy being around that kind of thing, so I never really made it a part to get off to the women's group, the Bible study. The women's group I did, because that was a different whole function, but that's another busy kind of event in life. So,
Yeah.
so that was enough, but I did not make myself go to that. So it's discouraging to hear some people and how small they can be sometimes. I didn't really do that.
Yeah, no need to subscribe to that.
Yeah. So I did not.
Well, what do we got next? Do we, is there another question, or is it the trinket?
Well,
trinket
it
section?
says to bring some of the little trinkets and the things, and that
Okay,
was the
yeah.
last question.
What's that?
That was the last question, actually, on the other sheet.
Okay, well, you showed us your trinkets. Was there something else you wanted to show, or was that it?
No, that was all. That was all good.
Okay, excellent.
And if you want to fast forward, because it almost comes to the point where the next section goes, is when Rod had heart surgery. And
How old was he?
I think it was 51. I think I calculated that once, and that's what his age was. If I'm wrong, I'll have to correct it, but I think that's what it was. And so he had his heart surgery, and then he had worked at the church for 17 years, and they asked him to resign. And that's the thing that we have never really understood, the thinking, whether they thought he just wasn't going to be able to keep working, or they felt responsible because he was working pretty hard.
I see, yeah.
And you think about that, and you think that's a hard thing to talk about. But the fact that Rod kept going and went to the church down in Northridge and worked for 3+ years, And all the men in the area, he still attended meetings all this time, going down to meet with people down there too. They all respected him and had no qualms about him. And eventually, when he came back and started another church, and it showed, we have a picture of the people who supported him from the Christian fellowship thing. So I consider that honestly is like some of the things that the old people went through in the biblical times, where they had real persecutions or hard things happen to them.
Yeah.
And I consider it a badge of honor. It does not, it's just part of what life gives to us and how you work at overcoming it.
Yeah.
And you show that the Lord is still taking care of you. So I think of it really as an honorable thing that he kept in the ministry. Now, one of the people, and this is one of the things I'll share with you, that is you say, what are some of the goods and bads in working with the ministry? Well-meaning people who tell you things that really need to be kept confidential, or it's painful. They kind of like want you to know something is one of the hardest things. And if only people knew that. But the thing is, he kept going, and I am so proud of him. And I want you to know, and nobody has ever heard of this happening again, that a few years later, there was a service, and the room, the building was absolutely packed, because they've never heard of it before, asking him forgiveness for what they had done. Oh yeah, that happened. And it was such a big group that I didn't go up front. I was just sitting as close to where he was going to be.
Yeah.
But that is a rare occasion. So one of the people had said, the thing I meant to share about the saying things out of school and, telling things. One of the men who was evidently on the board had said, "Oh, just let him write a book," like as because the church was really in an upheaval after that, and it caused a lot of questions, but nobody ever gave him a reason for that decision of asking him to resign. And I want you to think about this, Christian. You have your entire chest opened up for heart surgery.
Yeah.
And you survive it. But no more than 2.5 months later, it was that they did this. I think to myself, I tell you, I am so proud of him for just keeping on in the ministry, because if he had stopped, that would have, been a bad lesson. It would have looked as if he was guilty of something. Nobody's ever said anything. We still don't understand. But that is my feeling about the whole thing. I have nothing but feeling like it's a badge of honor.
Yeah.
I really do. So
That's good.
yeah.
Well, if you're comfortable, in a couple podcasts, we'll go into it in depth. We can sort of talk about it, the details of what happened.
I think nobody really has ever said any reason or wrong thing, and think about it. There was another minister who came there afterwards, and he was there probably, I don't know how many years he was there. Nice man. He's the one that called for this meeting of forgiveness. And there were a few hundred people there. Anyway, it's just an interesting part of our history, and I was just nothing but proud of him for keeping on going.
Yeah.
So that's all I can say. It was just a time. Oh, the fact that people will repeat what you say. The people that say it are pretty low in my book in the first place, but the ones who repeat it to you don't know what damage they're doing. You know, it's painful, you know.
Sure.
But the thing is, it's just like I tell you, if person was crucified upside down in the scripture because they wouldn't give up their faith in God, and you see that talked about in scripture, I think to myself, you know, he just really did a good thing keeping on preaching the Lord's work.
Yeah.
And those people that asked him to resign were just really, I never did see a great, I never did see a big monumental group of any of the men there who were really deep spiritual people. Honestly, I'll have to say that. But for them to do that kind of thing is on them, and so it doesn't faze me anymore at all.
Well,
I
that's
mean, it's
good.
painful to think about. It's just, as I said,
He just kept moving forward, you know.
yeah.
And
So I was just, I'm not embarrassed about it. I'm just proud of him. That's all I can say.
I'm proud of him too.
Yeah.
And we love him and we miss him, don't we?
It's just one of those things in history, and people have, you know, had to leave churches for reasons of not being good, but that took some kind of mentality to think about doing that. And I just don't know their mindset, whether they thought it was just too much for him, you know, and do something lighter or whatever. But that was when I was offered my job at Lockheed, and it was perfect timing. It was 1 month before Mike graduated, because you were not allowed to miss for so many weeks after you were hired on down
Oh, I
there.
see. Yeah.
And I had to ask them right off the bat, because it was 4:30 to 12:15, this shift, and I had to ask them permission to go to his graduation.
Yeah.
So it worked out.
So
It was nothing but good.
sneak peek for everyone listening. We're gonna be doing a podcast on Grandma's time at Lockheed Martin. If you don't know what that is, you should. If not, Google it. She was a nurse there for almost 30 years.
Yep.
And that'll probably be the next podcast. And that was part of her life's work as a nurse. She worked
Yeah.
in Burbank, and then she came out here when they moved. And that'll be the next podcast. So we'll see you guys next time. Thanks for tuning in. And Grandma, I love you.
Love you more.